Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Jamie here. I want to say a very warm welcome to you, and thanks very much for joining me in this very special live entertainment today. For those of you tuning in via Facebook, drop a hashtag live if you happen to jump on the live. And of course, if you're watching via YouTube, thanks for joining me. Feel free to hit that subscribe button if you want to learn more about affiliate marketing, digital marketing, how to get started online, pretty much all things digital. So, got with me today someone who I have a lot of respect for, and who I've been trying to angle to get on an interview for bloody ages, like a year in the making. And I'd like to introduce you guys to none other than my friend and mentor, Jacob Caris. So, absolute privilege to have you here, man. I want to say thanks very much. And do you want to just kind of, for the people that, the folks at home who might not be familiar with yourself, you want to just kind of give a bit of background and what's the geo, what's the situation,
who's who in the zoo?
Who's who? Yeah,
absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me on. I honestly could have, if you'd asked me, I would have said we've done this before, but now that I think about it, I don't think we have. Anyway, you need to be more forceful.
Yeah.
Nah, all good, dude. I appreciate you having me in the group and on the channel. And if anyone's around, drop any questions. We can give you some real-time feedback and anything on sales, mindset, marketing, whatever. We'll turn this into a bit of dialogue. Once we get past the kind of initial period, we're happy to have a chat with people. So, yeah, dude, backstory is corporate for most of my life. Went to school, went into the typical kind of college/university path. Got a commerce degree here in Australia. Did the corporate thing in the distressed kind of field, which was interesting experience. That took me over to New York for a couple of years, and while I was over there, that was where I dabbled online over the years, but the job was too busy. It always kind of pulled me back. And while I was over in New York, I was like, I don't really want to go back to Australia and keep doing this same stuff. So that was when the bug really started, and got into the affiliate marketing world through ClickFunnels. As Russell very successfully did, lured so many people in with the dream car. And that became my first big focus. And I was kind of like a dog after a bone chasing that for 18 months, testing a bunch of different strategies. I did blogging, some ads, Facebook, a bit of coaching, like all different things, really just with that one clear goal in mind. And that gave me exposure to a lot of different areas of the industry, a lot of different people. I learned a lot of what to do, what not to do. And then I would consider those kind of first 18 months my, baptism of fire to figure out this whole game. And it's really just kind of launched from there. About the time that the dream car thing happened was when I left the corporate world. So I kind of view that as like an initial phase where I was doing that at the same time as working. And then there was about a month difference. I won the dream car thing and about that same time quit the job. So from then is when it's been like a full-time experiment, you could call it. Yeah, but it's been a wild ride.
How's yeah. Interesting. I know I'm going to touch on some of the other stuff that you've done since then. So I think that's pretty damn compelling. But why do you, I'm really curious. So when you won the Dream Car Award, and Michelle, yes, he did win the award. Why? Because I think from memory, you were like 55 or 56 at that time that had won it out of all the affiliates in the world. What do you think made the difference as to why you were able to achieve that versus why so many people didn't?
It's a good question, man. I think as you've kind of seen since we've had the opportunity to work together, speed of action as a general rule is pretty important. And I used that both with my own initiative to try different strategies, but when I also kind of saw different things that people were doing, I jumped on those relatively quickly. Because I was like, shit, if they work for them, they're probably going to work for me. So I'm going to just move. Where I needed to, I paid for the help that was necessary, paid to get on calls with people, paid for courses. Like, it was just like that one thing was my North Star. And I was just, anything that I need to do to get there, I'll do it. Because I knew that I knew that if I could achieve that when so few people had, it would give me the confidence that, yeah, I can do this stuff over and over again. And it would also be a great, like, you know, I guess social proof for the industry as well,
Sure.
kind of carry forward. But that would be it, man. It's like, it was one clear fixed goal for me. I think a lot of people say, yeah, I want to win the dream car or I want to do X. But it's still not that firmly entrenched, and they'll dabble and they'll still be distracted by other things. Like, legitimately, for that 18 months, there was nothing else that I wanted to do. And I think when you apply that mindset so aggressively, and every action that you take is with the clear intention of progressing towards that goal, there's no way you don't get there eventually. It's just a matter of how long it takes. And you know, Russell pitches it as 100-day pathway. Obviously, it took a hell of a lot longer than that, but it's about not stopping. If a strategy didn't work, and I tried a bunch of things that didn't work for me along the way, but it's like you just objectively assess it and go, do I stick with this or do I eliminate it? Eliminate the crap, keep refining, like, on a near weekly basis. And as long as the numbers are, you know, for the most part, ticking in the right direction, then you're doing the right things as a general rule, and they'll start to compound, and you start to see that kind of exponential growth that we talk about so much.
Yeah.
And but it's really just about becoming obsessed. I think obsessed with that goal, and then opening up as many as possible.
On the back of that, can you talk us through? So I know for myself, like, I've had a slightly longer pathway than yourself there. I started in 2011, but for me, it was like, I tried blogging and I learned some stuff, but then I guess in hindsight, I probably didn't have a clear goal. I just wanted to have like a network of blogs that was going to make passive income forever. Did you, I guess this is a kind of a double-edged question. One is, what setbacks did you face along the way? And to this one, to this goal specifically. And then the other side of that is, what made you go, yep, this is still working? Like, what was the validation point for you? Like, as opposed to a lot of us that kind of go, this isn't working, I'm going to try this other thing now. Like, I'm going to try just setting up a YouTube channel. Okay, that didn't work. I'm going to try running some ads. Okay, that didn't work. I'm going to try blogging. So what made you kind of hold the course on? Because I think you started off with a blog, right? Like, what part of that did you focus on and not allow those other distractions to come in?
Two good questions. The first one is setbacks. My setbacks weren't necessarily industry based. Like, it wasn't that, you know, I invested in a program that turned out to be a pile of shit or got deceived. I wouldn't say my setbacks or my struggles were industry based. Mine were more situational based, and it was, you know, my setbacks were the fact I was doing 80 to 100 hours a week for that whole period at work. When I got back to Australia, it was probably more like 60 to 70. It was that I was traveling for a big chunk of that. It was that, you know, there was always something else I could be doing. And in spite of that, you know, I still kind of pushed on to make it happen. So, but yeah, my setbacks were more, there was just so much other stuff going on that it constantly pulled me away from it. So I could have done it faster if I didn't have those things going on. But, you know, we've all got other things, right? And this is why we talk so much about picking a strategy that fits your situation. Because for me, I couldn't do I knew I wanted to eventually get into the personal branding thing, but I couldn't do it at the time with the job. And so I picked a strategy that fit my situation, which I think puts people down a path of less resistance when there's congruency between your situation and your strategy. If you're constantly pushing shit uphill with a strategy that doesn't fit who you are as a person or your situation, it's not going to work. Like, if you're counting the pennies and you're trying to run paid ads, it's not going to work.
Yeah,
because you don't have the cash flow to test, and you're probably not in the right mindset to be doing it. On the flip side, if you're a massive introvert and you've got no interest in anyone seeing you, talking to people, whatever, personal branding probably isn't for you, right? And so if you're constantly fighting your strengths, right, you're literally doubling down on your weaknesses I think I see too many people, trying to do that when they need to just have an honest conversation with themselves and go, YouTube's probably not for me because I can't talk to a camera. Maybe later I will when my confidence improves. But for now, if I want to get started, this whole game is hard enough as it is. I need to make life easier for myself and pick a strategy that fits me, not necessarily what everybody else is saying, to do.
Yeah.
So those were my setbacks, were time-based. The way that I got around that was, that one clear goal was important, but kind of out of necessity, micro-tasking what I had to do. So if I jumped in an Uber and like every Thursday or Friday night, I'd get an Uber from LaGuardia to New Jersey where I was living. And that could take anywhere from 45 minutes if it was good traffic through to 2 hours if it was traffic was fucked in Manhattan. And that was a big chunk of my business building time was in that Uber from LaGuardia to New Jersey. And that was after, days and days of work at a client's site until 2:00 in the morning or whatever. But I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I took advantage of those windows and I had a clear plan on what to do in those windows. Like it wasn't just, write a blog post. It was like, I'm going to write a blog post about this thing. It's going to cover these points. And I want to get it done by X time. So then when I had that window, I could just do. Whereas I think a lot of people who don't have the clear plan, they'll say, I've got 2 hours after I finish my day job, and they'll spend an hour of it thinking about what to do, and then maybe an hour executing. And that's probably being generous in most cases, but that plan eliminates that thinking time and means you can all of a sudden double your input or output, however you want to perceive it, and just get more done. It won't be perfect, but you'll get a hell of a lot more done, especially as that compounds. They were my setbacks. Was time based, and I genuinely believe, without sounding arrogant, if I was able to overcome those time constraints, I think the vast majority of people can. That's a pretty extreme schedule.
Yeah, I think, like you say, you touched on something there which is really interesting. Is that whole knowing what to do in those windows as well. I think that is really freaking huge. Because I know for myself, before I kind of before SAA sort of developed and whatnot, I was sort of I think when you and I started working together, it was like, I'm trying to do all this stuff every day, but I didn't kind of like, it wasn't no pathway. I wasn't sort of like, okay, I know that I need to write an email or I need to write a blog post or need to do this. So it was just kind of like, well, I'm gonna do all this stuff and see what happens. And I guess in hindsight, not having that focus and that clear, now do this, now do this, now do this type plan, it was kind of like throwing mud on a wall and hoping that something sticks. So you obviously you went on to do some pretty epic stuff since then. Do you want to kind of continue that time frame from ClickFunnels and sort of to where you are now?
Yeah, man. So was there a second part to that question? I think there was. I missed it.
Yeah, sorry. The second part was setbacks, and then the other one was when you're going through that process and not necessarily getting immediate validation. How did you avoid like the shiny objects and shit, am I doing the right thing, and like, is this the right pathway for me?
I think this is going to sound bad, but common sense.
What is that? Can you talk us through that?
Well, common sense isn't common. If there's this crazy thing in the world that we play in where everyone likes to think every other strategy other than the one that they're selling is dead or doesn't work or won't work for somebody. All of the major strategies work if you work them, right? Like
gotcha.
Blogging has been around forever in terms of the internet or whatever, but like it still works. YouTube still works. Facebook still works. Email still works. They all work.
Yeah.
It's just people don't work them for long enough to get to the point where it will work for them. I was probably blessed in that I didn't have time to think about anything else. Like I didn't have time to go and get shiny object syndrome. All I had time to do was write my blog post when I was in my Uber, like exhausted. we get distracted by too much choice and too many options.
Yeah.
And you know, the social media world of instant gratification and feedback on all of our amazing thoughts that we put out into the world, just, you know, shorten the cycle with which people are willing to kind of sit through and grind without, you know, something coming back the other way. And you might have been grinding for a year, but if you've been doing that with, you know, 6 different strategies for only 2 months each, you haven't been grinding for a year. You've been grinding for 2 months on that most recent strategy, because every time you do that, you're going back to the start. We've spoken about this concept before of, like, imagine a mountain and the top of that mountain is your goal, and you're kind of like back here at the start line. Between that starting line and even starting to ascend that mountain is a big, like a canyon or a ditch or whatever you want to call it, right? A valley. And in there's a ton of thorns and weeds and like dangerous animals and all this shit. And everybody has to go through that valley. Everybody goes through it, right? Those thorns and dangerous things could be your mindset. They could be shiny object syndrome. They could be family members. They could be friends. They could be a job. Like, it's everything that's going to pull you away from getting out the other side of that valley and start ascending the income levels of that mountain. Let's say 10Ks at the top for you, 2, 4, 6, 8. None of that can happen until you are through that valley. The problem is, as you're going through that valley, let's say your mentor's at the other end and they're extending a hand and they're going, come on, come on, come on. The problem is that in that valley with you is every step of the way, there's someone giving you a get out of jail free card. The problem is the cost of that is going right back to the start, further away from where you're trying to get to. And then lo and behold, you end up back in that valley with that same scummy person trying to give you another get out of jail free card. But the cost, back to the start. It's like in a game, you die, you respawn back at the start of the level, and you have to go through it all again. It's the exact same thing. So I guess, you know, I didn't have the time to think about it, but it was like, this is blogging. There's people on Google. I'm putting stuff on Google. Eventually, if I put enough stuff on Google using the right strategy, people will find it. And if I put enough links where people can buy things, people will buy things. Like, it doesn't get any more complex than that. It's the same with Facebook. You know, if I communicate with enough relevant people and I put out some good content, eventually I will build momentum and people will buy stuff. It doesn't get more complex than eyeballs checkout page in whatever platform you're using. YouTube. If I put out enough videos with relevant keywords and I give people a call to action to buy stuff, which is, we can talk about how important that is because most people want to avoid that. And I tell people, I have something to sell, buy this thing, buy this thing. You show up every day and you tell them, buy this thing, buy this thing. There's no way people don't buy, but it will take momentum and it will take some time to build up that momentum to get to that point. So just pick. I get frustrated because, like,
I just tell.
Just pick one thing and just do it. Be it SAA or be it not SAA. Like, I just want to see people win. Like, just pick one thing and run with it. Whichever platform, like, appeals to you and whatever product appeals to you, pick that thing and put your head down for the next 6 to 12 months on that one thing. And I guarantee in 6 to 12 months, you will be a completely different person and in a completely different position. The problem is 6 to 12 months for most people seems like 15 years. And yet, you know, you compare the potential of what can happen in that 6 to 12 months to how long you might fight up the corporate ladder to get to a 6-figure salary or whatever. And it's crazy. I don't know if that answers the question or not, but
that really, really does. That was worth the price of admission right there. The analogy that I like to think of, it's like when you go to a restaurant versus when you go to a wedding. And so when you go to a wedding and they give you the menu and it's like literally like you get this and this, or you know, maybe there's an option there, but like your brain can't kind of like go elsewhere and say, oh no, can I just get a plate of like jelly, thanks? Like, you have to eat the chicken or the fish or the vegetarian. And conversely, a lot of the time on the internet marketing world, it's like going to one of those restaurants where there's like 700 things on the menu and like your brain can't work out which the right one to go is. So if you remove those choices and you follow just the thing in front of you, you're going to do pretty well.
It's decision fatigue. it's decision fatigue. Like there's too many choices. Yeah.
That's why I gave up combing my hair and shaving my beard, because I don't want to make that decision in the morning. So anyway, moving right on. I want to address these questions quickly before we move on. A couple in the comments there. Did you get coaching or mentoring during the beginning stages?
I got. So first thing I really, when I view 2017 as when I like really started my affiliate marketing journey. I bought Greg Jeffrey's SEO course. Then I paid a bit of money for Spencer's ClickFunnels course back then, or not his ClickFunnels course, his affiliate marketing course. And I paid a dude named Dan Frigo for a coaching call, who was kicking some ass with the ClickFunnels stuff. And I'm sure I bought other little courses and stuff along the way. But I didn't really have the time for like structured mentorship. It was like I had such narrow windows to get stuff done that it was like I have to work in those windows. I can't, I don't have the time for all these other things. Going back, I would have loved to have like one person or a community, I guess, to be a part of and lean on, but I didn't at the time. And yeah, I'm sure things probably would have gone even faster if I'd had that one place to go. I kind of figured it out more on my own.
Sure.
And learnt by the kind of school of hard knocks, I guess, more than like plugging into one plan and sticking with that. Handed to me on a platter. Yeah.
Second question, which I think is really cool as well, is when you were setting up your business, did you work with hard or soft deadlines to get things up and running?
Probably more soft deadlines, I would say, like just because of the job. I could have all my best intentions, but it just wasn't realistic to stick to hard deadlines. Things got moved around, things got pushed, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was more like, this week I'd love to get this article up. It's a pretty loose kind of deadline.
Yeah.
But as long as you are overall moving forward, I think that's the biggest indicator of are you doing enough is in the windows of opportunity that you get. So consistency is perceived to be like, I spent 2 hours a day on this thing. That's not consistency to me, because that's unrealistic in the landscape for most people. You've got kids, you've got family, you've got a job, you've got, everything else that's going on. Consistency is, okay, I've got an hour on a Tuesday night and maybe I've got half an hour Thursday morning. It's doing what you can in those windows. If you are consistent in the windows where you actually get a chance to do your work, that's the best indicator of, am I moving forward? Then you've got to actually be honest with yourself and assess and go, okay, am I being productive in those windows, or am I scrolling on Facebook or just watching YouTube and feeling like I'm busy? I think if you can honestly say to yourself, you're taking advantage of those windows of opportunity and you are actually implementing and not just like learning or reading or whatever, that's the best indicator that you're moving in the right direction, beyond the more quantitative metrics of like leads and sales and views or whatever other metrics you look at depending on your business. I think qualitatively they're the things to kind of analyze is am I taking advantage of these windows and am I actually doing productive stuff?
This probably not the perfect time to segue necessarily, but it is kind of relevant though, is that I think going back to that comment, a lot of the time I think people, it's not that they not feel like they're working, it's that they don't have clarity over what they should do in those time windows, which seems really common. I think I know I was there a year and a half ago, something like that. It was just kind of like, got all this time, like I was working for myself, so it was a little bit different, but it was like, cool, I've now run some ads for clients, I've done some admin stuff. Now what do I do? Like, how do I do this whole affiliate marketing thing, which I'd kind of been doing in the background for years anyway. It wasn't like it was a new thing, but there was still no kind of clarity over, okay, now do this, now do this, now do this. And I think that's kind of a massive thing where people tend to get a little bit stuck as well.
We can touch on that real quick.
Sure.
To anybody watching this who's lost, confused, overwhelmed, doesn't have a clear plan, you only need 3 things. like the fourth is mindset, but that's a black hole of craziness that we could spend the next 6 weeks talking about. Strategically, you need three things. You need a product, you need a conversion method, and you need an audience, right? Now, product, don't try and do 15, 16 different things. Pick one or two. Like, narrow it the fuck down. Get as narrow as possible and make it something that ideally you've purchased and been through. It's going to make it a hell of a lot easier to sell. Make it something that you really, really like. Make it something that you can clearly identify the problem that it solves for people, because then you can gear all of your content on taking people from where they are now to where they want to be. And you can position your paid product as the vehicle or the bridge between those 2 points. And then obviously, if you've listened to Jamie or I talk at all, it's ideally going to have some kind of high ticket element because it's going to accelerate the income process. Then to pick your conversion method, right? There's really only two main ways you can do this. You either do one-to-one or one-to-many, and then ideally you'll probably end up in a spot where you're doing both. But to begin with, just pick one. When I say one-to-one, I mean a conversation. When I say one-to-many, I mean like a bridge funnel. It literally doesn't need to be more complicated than an opt-in page, picking up your phone going, hey guys, thanks so much. The thing you opted in for is on its way into your inbox. Before you go there, I want to tell you a little bit of story about me and about a program that's completely changed things for me. It used to be like this. Then I found that this happened. Now it's like this. There's a button below if you want to go check it out. Otherwise, head over to your inbox and grab the PDF that I sent you. Boom, your funnel is done. That's your conversion method, right? If you want to talk to people, the whole pillars of it are talk to them about where they're at. Everyone loves to talk about themselves, talk about what they're struggling with, where they want to get to. And then once you've got those things, if you've got one or two products in your kit bag, you can just throw it up and go, look, you might want to check that out. You don't need to stress yourself with like this hard sales kind of stuff. The strategy that you pick there is going to depend on the third piece, which is the platform, right? If you pick YouTube, you're probably not going to go down a one-to-one sales path. You're going to go down more of a one-to-many. Same with a blog. Typically, where the content is more evergreen, like a blog, like YouTube, you're going to go with a one-to-many, more like passive conversion process. Whereas a platform like Facebook or even like Instagram, where it's more real-time content that's constantly getting rolled, those are typically aligned more, at least initially, with a one-to-one conversion process. So those last two components go hand in hand. What's your platform and what's your conversion process that matches up to that platform? For anyone that's lost and confused, that is literally something you could nail this weekend. And from next week, all you do is you focus on expanding the reach of that platform, of that audience, of that, content thing that you pick, and moving people from there into the conversion process, right? And then you're constantly feeding that, and then that will spit out the buyers. The fourth component of this, which we spoke about, was mindset. That's going to get better the more that this happens, and then you're going to be able to get more creative with your offers, more creative with your conversion processes, more creative with different platforms, start stacking them on top of each other, go from organic to paid or vice versa. But start with one in each of those categories. Again, focus on it for the next 6 to 12 months. You'll be a different person. It's simple advice, but it falls on deaf ears.
No one does it. Yeah. It's almost too simple. And in fact, interesting point to make on that is some of you guys, I've probably told this story a lot, but I connected with Jacob March 2019, and it gave me like we're kind of liaising every now and then, and I got some advice from him, which I went and not intentionally, but I kind of ignored it, basically because it was literally just that. Like just do these three things, get rid of all that other crap that's not really relevant to what you're doing, and you'll probably do okay. And so it wasn't an ego thing. It wasn't like I was too arrogant to assume that this dude kind of knew what he was talking about. It was more because I'd invested so much kind of mental and emotional energy into these other projects, and I'm like, just Jamie, for once in your life, just finish a bloody project, and then you can listen to what that guy has to say. And so I did. I finally did. They were a complete flop, but doesn't matter. I'm still very proud of myself for finishing them. So, but then that was it. And then once I did that, because it was so simple, like I'd kind of refused to take that advice. But then when I did, like 7 days later, I had my first $1,000 day online, and I was like, fuck, all right, that's pretty cool.
Less is more, man. Less is so much more getting started. Yeah.
Yeah, so literally feel free to rewatch it just for that bit alone, and then the mindset stuff you're talking about before. Just real quick, I just want to throw this question out there, and then I'll move on. But it's how did your, well, not current, but how did your job at the time and your skill experience help with affiliate marketing and online business?
It's an interesting question. I think the field I worked in, as I said, was distressed corporate. So we dealt with some pretty sticky situations. At a relatively young age, I had to tell people they'd lost their job. I had to report to big committees of creditors and banks. And I was exposed to some very stressful shit at a very early age from a corporate sense. And so I think the things that people get hung up on as stressful, like putting a post on Facebook or putting out a YouTube video or sending it, I'm just like, how is this stressing you out? Like this is easy. This is
not $1 billion in the hole.
Yeah. I'm like, we're like, okay, how do we lock down this office because there's like 3 farmers with guns who want to come and get their check? Like the situations that I had to deal with by comparison to the stuff that stresses people out online, like asking someone for money, like going, hey, I've got this program. It's really cool. Do you want to buy it? Like, I'm just like, this is not hard. This is fun. I'm comfortable here in my office. There's no one here that is, sending me death threats for their money. I don't have to fire people. I don't have to spend 70 hours a week in spreadsheets with 1,700 tabs and figure out where the one broken cell is. Like, this is great. And so I think those like highly stressful, highly complex situations that I had to deal with so early on and become so in tune with like problem solving on the fly, dealing with awful data and having to come up with relatively sophisticated solutions. I think it all just fueled like the ability to take imperfect action and not get stressed out about like, oh my God, I have to ask Bob if he wants my order form. Like, it's easy. It's fine. Just do it. It's going to be okay. I promise you. Nothing bad is going to happen. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from my sister. And it was, I called her when the opportunity to go to New York popped up. And, that's a big thing. Move to the other side of the world, pack up your whole life. Completely different legal system. And the distressed field is very heavy on understanding how the Corporations Act here works and their bankruptcy acts and stuff in America. So it was going to be a massive challenge. And I was crushing it. I was jumping up the levels here. And I was like, this is a big move. And she's like, what's the worst that can happen, right? You get over there, you hate it, you come back, right? Like, it's not that bad. And that stuck with me. What's the worst that can happen? And typically we build up stuff in our head so much that if you just ask that question and you're honest in answering it with yourself, the table and chairs just slid like 10 meters down the balcony. If you're honest with yourself about that answer, it's typically not that bad, right? Like, we see this in SAA, right? We tell people to put out a line in the sand post, accountability post, when they first come in. And the psychology behind that is not necessarily that we care about them putting an accountability post out there, right? Because anyone can, say, I'm going to do this thing. It's to get people to start taking action quickly and not really thinking about it too much. Just like hit go, right? I do that with all my Facebook posts. I write them, I hit release, and then if I have time, I'll read it and find like 6 typos and fix them up. If sometimes I don't, same with emails. Like I'll half the time. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. I'll upload YouTube videos and then I'll rewatch them. And if there's something like catastrophic, I'll change them. I'll take it down and but for the most part, there's nothing too bad that can happen. The benefits of that swift action will outweigh it so much more.
Yeah, so much. Absolutely. That's powerful, man. Really, really good. So is it possible just to kind of give us the sit rep as to, so you've won ClickFunnels dream car thing and then take us through to where you are now?
Yeah. So that was like August 18. And then I can do a little show and tell. This was August 18. Well, I didn't get it in 18. I got it later, but that was when that happened. And then I was at a point where I could see ClickFunnels was kind of reaching a bit of hysteria at that point. And I wanted a new challenge. Like, I'd been chasing that bone for 18 months, and I was like, I want to do something different. I don't just want to keep trying to get people on ClickFunnels trials, and the high ticket thing, it always interested me because I'm like, that makes sense. You know, I'm pretty good at math, and $1,000 sounds better than a $40 commission to me. There's a couple more zeros. That's naturally going to make things happen faster. And so I started digging into the high ticket stuff and ended up back at Legendary, who I'd actually joined a few months earlier. I'd been so like tunnel visioned on the ClickFunnels thing that I'd bought it. I just bought their front end thing and just let it ride. But so I knew the high ticket thing was there. And then I went back to that, and I did some pretty significant due diligence on the whole process and how it works, and understanding upsell rates, and speaking to the coaches over there, and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, this sounds fun. Like, big numbers. Fuck yeah.
Fun. I like it.
This sounds good. Like,
yeah.
I want $1,000 emails, not $40 emails.
Yeah.
And yeah, so jumped into that, and then started doing a whole bunch of different things for that, a combination of paid and organic. And again, had a very, very clear goal. They have a 6-figure affiliate club, which I think at this point they've got maybe 6 or 7 members, and they do this ring. And so that was the next like clear goal for me. And it was like, get the fuck out of my way, tunnel vision. I'm not stopping until I get this ring. And this isn't necessarily to just chase material things, but it's like when you've got that one clear focus, you can just block everything else out if you want that one thing bad enough. And that's why I said the word obsessed before, because I became obsessed with the dream car, and then became obsessed with like, I want that diamond ring. Like, I could just go buy a diamond ring if I wanted a diamond, but I want that diamond ring. I want the one with my name on it.
Yeah.
I want the one that's like so like over the top and like bougie that, you know, I'll never wear it, but I want it. And that speaks to, you know, psychology as well, of how we chase these things. And yeah, put the head down and really, really chased that. As that was kind of coming to a head, and I was in like the 90,000-ish mark for that around April, May, that was when the launch for KBB, the Knowledge Business Blueprint, popped up. And so the Legendary stuff was kind of just happening. It didn't take too much thought. And I was like, this is going to be big. I need to put some time into this. And I remember it was a Saturday night, and I was at home just like watching telly, and I saw something pop up about it, and I'd heard about it at Funnel Hacking Live earlier. And this is what I'm talking about with not hesitating and just getting shit done. I built my strategy that night. I used chatbots pretty heavily for that. I built that bot and came up with a bit of a plan to get a jump on the competition, and it was like launched and ready to go. Like, while I was watching a movie, it was not pretty. It was very simple, but I was like, I'm just going to give it a go, because I knew the names that would be on that leaderboard would be crazy. And I was like, we'll see what happens, right? I can get some first mover advantage here. The other thing that they incentivized people with too was a top 10 trip to Fiji, which I ended up just missing out on, but they had some other cool stuff, and got to go to Vegas for a party. And like these very clear goals, it's not to get the prize, but it's just like having that one thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's when you can just narrow in on that one thing, it just removes all of this like crap, because you don't care about anything else. All you care about is that one thing. And I mean, from a business sense, like, don't go burn all your relationships and stuff for the sake of it. But like, from a business sense, you can block everything else out and just get that. Like us right now with the 2 Comma Club, like that's the target. And we can just head down and work towards that and strategize everything towards that one thing. So yeah, April, May 2019 was pretty hectic. The legendary thing happened. The KBB thing happened. I flew over to Orlando and spoke at the legendary event and got that ring. And then I got back from that, and then it was a pretty rocky period in life, the middle of 2019, for a few reasons. And I was knocked out. I was obviously making good money and I was enjoying the process, but I wasn't good. I wasn't happy. Yeah. And so I had probably a good 2 to 3 months where I didn't do a hell of a lot. I didn't need to. And I was just kind of like, I always knew in the back of my mind that when the right idea or opportunity kind of popped up, I've got the work ethic to make it work. So I wasn't too stressed. But I just didn't have the right thing in front of me. And there was a bunch of other shit going on at the same time. And it just kind of hit me for six a little bit, which just proves that, you know, I think money can buy happiness, but money can't buy fulfillment.
Yeah. It's a really powerful thing.
Like I'm pretty fucking happy when I'm sitting down on the beach, but I may not be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was in Europe and I messaged you, and I think one of the big epiphanies I had was one of the big reasons I was struggling was I was very isolated. You know, you work from home, it's a real problem. And I'm a fairly, you know, social person. I draw energy from talking to people, bouncing ideas off people. I come from such a high-strung, high-stress environment where you've got like a lot of high performers and a lot of egos flying around. And there's always like, I love a good argument as much as the next person, and like all of that stuff gives you a ton of energy. And then all of a sudden, I was in my apartment with just me with my laptop.
It's a lot harder to argue with yourself, isn't it?
Oh man, it just hits you from six, like
yeah.
And so I remember messaging you and saying, dude, like I need more people, like I need more people in my life. And that was kind of where the SAA light or you know, not even beta. Is there anything alpha test? I don't know, like pre was like the first spark for that was like, I need to work with more people. And at the same time, I could see a massive gap in the market for people who understood what I understood around learn these fundamental skills. Let's keep it simple, build something that will serve you now, but will also arm you with the, you know, the strategies and the skill sets to take things forward. And it was the right time too. Like so many of these rookie people come online, they make like $4 and then it's like, fuck, buy my affiliate marketing course. And I'm like, oh my God. And at least at that point, you know, I'd done 3 different affiliate programs. I was like, I know my stuff. I know this game. I can very confidently and comfortably teach this to people at this point. And that then presented a new challenge of, okay, now it's a matter of controlling the whole process, not just the front end. And that's been a awesome. What are we at now? When did we roll? That was like October-ish.
I think we started the training. Yeah, end of October. Officially kicked off on I think November 10th or something like that.
Yeah.
From memory.
So there was a couple of months of, you know, going around in circles on different concepts, and then we started pre-selling it, and then we launched the training in November. So you know, we've been going at it for what is that? 10 months.
10 months. Yeah.
You know, consistently showing up every day, helping the students, adding more content, trying to build a community, working on the funnels, on that one goal, right? I think, you know, maybe 1 or 2 other little things have popped up in the interim, but it's been 10 months of that one thing. And most marketers can't do that, right? How many different programs have we seen pop up and disappear in those 10 months? Tons. Right?
Many. It's the launch cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons that the program's done so well and we've got such good testimonials and you know, people jump in with confidence is that we've literally showed up every day for 10 months and we've not missed a call. We've never missed a weekly coaching call. Even with, I mean, you know, we don't need to go into it, but even with so much going on in our own personal lives, it's been a ridiculous year for so many reasons. We've never missed a coaching call. And I think that consistency in the brand and in the support for the students is such a big thing. And it's because we've got that one clear focus and we're just doing everything to move towards that. It all comes back to that from my perspective.
Absolutely. So on the back of that, I wanted to talk through that in particular because this was a massive mind. Like I've had like, it feels like every week I have like, oh, that's a new epiphany. That's a mindset shift. That's something I've changed. And it's just been like an exponential growth curve in terms of my mindset. But one of the big things that just like, it still blows my mind, and I speak about it so passionately now. But when SAA came together, talk us through that process, because literally there was nothing. There was no student results. There was nothing. And so that part in particular for me was just amazing, because it just kind of, it was just like, we've got a bit of a brand. You obviously have a lot more clout with your brand. I had a sort of growing brand, and between the two of I and Chris, the three of us, it sort of just created this thing of like, I don't want to use the word beta, but the alpha test that it was. Talk us through that process, I guess, because that was something that like blew my mind. But you obviously, I think, came at it from a slightly different angle, maybe sort of realizing it was going to work regardless. Whereas I was kind of like, oh, really? We don't need funnels and all this other stuff to create something freaking awesome.
Yeah. Well, what did we have? We had the concept. I mean, we obviously knew the strategies we were going to teach. We had a checkout form, and we didn't have the Facebook group yet. That came later. But you know as well as I do, man, you sell certainty. That's what people want to buy, right? They want certainty that you are going to help them solve a problem, move towards a goal, whatever. And that's what we did, right? I had the results. You had a growing brand. We had certainty that we could help people, and I knew that arrogantly or confidently or whatever you want to call it, I knew that with the team we'd assembled, with the experience that I had, I knew that we could shoot the lights out and honestly take on any competitors from not only a strategic perspective, having been in the weed for 2.5 years, and having a fresh perspective on all this, but the support, right? So many programs out there, they just suck at supporting their students when it's not that hard, right? You just keep showing up. You don't move on to the next best thing. You commit to it. How do you expect your students to commit to something if you're not committed to that thing, right? Like it's a two-way street. And so I knew all these things going into it. I'd spent enough time in the market, and I was like, there's so many jokers out here. We can destroy this. And I think we set the goal for the beta of 40 spots, and we filled that. And then we opened the group, and it was game on. I never had any doubts about it. I don't know why, but I knew we'd make it work.
There's a saying you said, and you might be able to remember a little bit better than I did, but it was, I can't remember if it was something you said or you got out of a book, but it was like something along the lines of being arrogant enough to know you can make it happen, but humble enough to accept the lessons along the way, or words to that effect. Yeah, I can't remember.
There's a couple of variations of that quote. You've got to, arrogance probably isn't the right word, but it's a steely self-confidence.
Yeah.
That you will make it work, but humble enough to realize there's going to be some ups and downs along the way. And we've faced challenges, but you overcome them with hard work, transparency, massive over communication. Communication is so important. Expectation management in business is everything. The reason the vast majority of business problems are caused is because of a lack of alignment in expectations between stakeholders. That's one of the things that my job did teach me, is that when the customer thinks they're getting something from the business, that they think they're providing something different to the customer, and then there's no congruence between them and the support team and the tech team and the coaches. Like when you got all these parties, right, and they're all trying to produce the same result, because that's what you're all working towards, a common result. But when the expectation on how that is going to happen isn't aligned, that's where you that's where you run into problems. So, you and I and Chris, we communicate a ton because we don't want to let stuff slip. We communicate a lot with our audience. This has happened. We're changing this. Here's why, keeping people in the loop so they understand things. Communication is so important. And I think the reason people get themselves into a pickle with running programs and stuff is because they don't communicate enough. And people are pretty accepting if you tell them why you're doing something and they can understand it. It's when you take things away or you change things on them without telling them and without explaining to them why it makes sense. And we've always just had the students' best interests at heart in building it.
100%.
I think a lot of people start with the sales focus, which you have to do, but that almost comes as a result of caring a ton about what happens inside the program. And then people are going to be your best, brand ambassadors.
I think that's an interesting comment you just made, and I think this is something that I've found quite incredible, because yesterday we just, for the record for everyone, Jacob and I were chatting, and one of the students had their first sale, and Jacob's like smashing his first, like, yeah, fuck yeah, and it was just it's quite humbling that even now people are still making their first sale or doing their thing online. Doesn't matter, forget if they're promoting SA or anything. I think that was kind of like, it's a pretty cool thing to see, is that, end of the day, it's about providing something which is awesome or trying to increasingly be awesome. But then also when the students actually get results, like it's that's me personally. That's why I love doing all this stuff, because the I guess the impact that you can potentially make with people.
I think one point there, like, that's part of the natural progression from an affiliate to a course creator or mentor or coach or whatever label you want to put on it, is that, and this is going to sound weird, but I liken it to being a parent. Like, as you're growing up, you're your responsibility, right? Like, you look after you. When you become a parent, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I can see this. Your priorities shift from, I'm now second, child is number one. Well, that's how it's meant to be, right? They're your responsibility. You need to look after them until they're big enough and ugly enough to take on the world. And your wins that you celebrate shift in my opinion. I think this is one of the reasons that we've done well, is it shifts from being about, I made these sales and these commissions, to you focus on their results, and that's where you draw your wins from. Because that's going to lead to sales for you anyway, right? That's like a leading indicator of sales that are going to come off the back of that. And I think if more coaches and mentors had that perspective shift of, okay, I've done these things, now I'm coaching these people, I need to get pumped up about their results, not about how many coaching packages I've sold, right? Yeah. Because it gets to a point with the money too. Like, I mean, you've seen our numbers for the day. Like, they become a point where it's just like, it's a number.
Yeah.
Whereas that's not like selling more and more of these packages isn't nearly as exciting as seeing someone do it for the first time. And that's where you draw your excitement from. And that will become infectious.
It is.
In a good way. For a change.
So we're coming up to the 1 hour mark, man. So I do appreciate your time. I have one more question for you, which I think I wanted to sort of throw out there. Is, in my opinion, mindset is undoubtedly the most important thing out of this entire journey, and your belief system and whatnot. What I'm kind of curious about is, when you've already had the success that you've had, and then you come into something like SAA, and then I suppose over the last 10 months or whatever it is, are you able to identify any mindset shifts you've been able to make?
Man, they happen every day. Like, they're fucking constant. And you start to notice when they happen, because it feels like this little light bulb goes off. I mean, you've experienced it too. It feels like this little light goes off. And I think they're harder to come by when you've got a lot of cloud and confusion around the strategy. They go hand in hand. A clear mind will make the strategy a hell of a lot easier, and a clear strategy will make it a hell of a lot easier to even think about the mindset, right? They have to go together. You can't have one without the other to make this stuff work, right? Because you could have the best mindset in the world, but if you've got no strategy, good luck, right?
Yep.
Or if you've got the best strategy in the world, but your mind's broken, again, good luck. It's not going to happen. Dude, I mean, I could sit here all day and talk about mindset shifts that have happened. Understanding the common mind, why you want to do it. It sounds fluffy as hell and very woo-woo, but it's super important. There's gonna be bumps along the road, and you've got to keep anchoring that main reason. Abundance, again, sounds woo-woo, sounds kind of like really hippie or whatever, but like, man, if you get hung up on that one sale that went to another affiliate, it will like crush you if you let it. You have to view it in the inverse and go, that's more of a sign that there's still people out there buying, right? Like you've got to take the abundant perspective. And I guess another thing the career set me up with was understanding how much, like, people talk about abundance and it's like, that just means there's a lot. I think that's the technical definition of it. But like, I saw mass amounts of money getting handed over, like hundreds of millions, billions of dollars getting handed over every week, month, without people blinking. And when you see that, it makes you appreciate, okay, we just made a $1,500 sale. Like, there is so much money out there, so much. And I just have to intercept the tiniest fraction of a percentage to do some really cool stuff. Abundance is really important. What are some of the other ones we've spoken about?
Self-belief. The abundance is massive. What else? It's an interesting one.
Appreciating the importance of being able to self-audit and self-audit regularly is very, very critical. That's a big one, because as I start talking to more and more students, I feel myself saying over and over and over again, you've got to self-audit on that, right? You've got to be able to be honest with yourself, ask yourself a question and give yourself an honest answer and not bullshit to yourself, which I think a lot of us do. And that happens regularly. Like, where we start to get, distracted and try to take too many different things on, I'm just like, no, what the fuck are you doing, Jake? Central, focus, that goal, come back to it.
I had that yesterday. Jake and I were talking, and it was interesting. I could actually feel my body language tightening up. I sort of started doing a bit of that. Like, I'm like, shit, okay, I'm getting defensive now. It's like triggering something in me. And I was like, actually, it's kind of cool, because then me being like realizing that, I was like able to quite accurately self-audit what I had been doing and what I was not doing more specifically. And it was interesting that when you're like harshly honest with yourself, I think it's kind of compelling to do that. So
I think one other thing on the mindset is I think some people use it as I think some, people that sell marketing training and stuff, I think some people use mindset as a cop-out where they don't really know how to teach the hard skills. But the reason it's so important, if people have been wondering why everyone talks about mindset, is because the path that you are trying to take is fucking hard. Like, it is not an easy road. It is the definition of the road less traveled. And that's why, the success rates are what they are, is because it's not easy. It takes a shitload of work. It's an absolute roller coaster of emotions. And that's why you have to get the mindset in check. Because it's not easy. And I've never wavered in saying that. Affiliate marketing is a simple business model, but it is not easy. And if anyone goes to any program expecting that, regardless of how it gets marketed to you, if you choose to believe the crap that gets put out there about it, then that's just as much on you as it is on the marketer. You need to be realistic and go, does that sound like bullshit? Probably bullshit. Like, it's not easy. That's why mindset is so important, because there's going to be challenges, and that's the only thing that will get you through it. Yeah.
It reminds me of a book I read called The Millionaire Fast Lane. And it talks about that concept, and when things like affiliate marketing and stuff like that, and probably e-commerce and different business models come about, like, the barrier of entry is so low, because literally anyone can go, cool, I'm an affiliate now, which then makes it hard to go down that pathway, because it's like, by comparison to being, say, setting up your own business as like I don't know, an aircraft engineer or manufacturer, for example. That's a huge barrier of entry, which is just completely out of the realms of possibility for most people. So yeah, but yeah, like you say, that's why mindset is so important. Cool, man. So we're at the hour mark. Tell us about SAA. Why are people joining in droves, and why should they join?
Because you get to hang out with us every week.
Whoop whoop.
Enough of There's a good question there. We'll circle back to that. Why should you join SAA? Look, there's two ways you can tackle affiliate marketing. You can either sit behind the scenes or you can be the brand. If you're the person who doesn't mind the idea of being the brand and kind of accepts that and is comfortable doing that, that is an amazing path to take. Once you make that decision, there's a myriad of strategies that you can use, and you can go and try to figure out all those different things, or you can make a investment in yourself and plug into a plan and a program and a community and get the support that you need to literally follow along. With that said, the mindset that you need to come into it with is, I'm ready to learn. I understand this is a real business. I'm going to take action on the stuff that I learned today, tomorrow, and for the next 3 to 6 months consistently. I need to understand that there's no, copy and paste. I need to add my own flair, my own style. You've got to be at a point where you accept that this is your business. You're going to get a framework, but within those pillars, you've got to add your own style. You've got to add your own messaging. You've got to add your own, personality to it. It's a personal brand. Add your personality to it, right? If you can accept all of those things, we can give you the framework, the community, the support to make it all happen, and we'll help you through the highs. We'll help you through the lows, and keep you on the straight and narrow for the people that are ready to do the work. And the best part about it is that you're building a foundation that will work for you now as an affiliate and into the future with whatever you want to do online. Any area that you go into, you're going to be trained up on the skills that will be transferable, right? People over and over again have approached me and said, Jacob, how have you gone from an affiliate to a course creator? I've been trying to create a course and I've struggled. And it's because I took the time to learn the marketing and the sales at a fundamental level so that it can be transferred to anything. Could launch a coaching program on its own. It would work. Could take it over to e-com. There might be some nuances and some changes, but you can adopt the same principles of understanding why people buy things and why people don't buy things to get them to do that. And they're the skills that you need to, appreciate and develop ASAP. And that's what we'll get you doing. And so if that sounds good, it's definitely for you. If you're not quite at that point yet, where you still believe in the unicorns, then we're not the program for you.
Thanks, man. That's awesome. I actually have one more. Are you okay for time, or?
Yeah, man, go for it.
See Daniel's question there. Might just I'll ask mine if that's cool, and then we'll circle back to that one, which is what is your thoughts on competition in this field, personal branding, things like that?
I mean, look, there's obviously, especially with affiliate marketing, you've got people trying to sell the same product. You've got people using the same strategies to sell the same type of product. Thankfully, a personal brand is built around you, and no one else is you. Now, even with that, if you just come in and go, oh, I'm just going to model these other people and, look at the content that they've created and kind of just do that, then you're going to put yourself in the pool of everybody else. But if you come into it with, I'm going to look at what the big players are doing, but I'm going to add my own approach, right? I'm going to do things that other people haven't done. Like Josh Ong going out and getting an interview with Russell. Great example. Yeah. Right. I'm going to go and you can implement a program and you can implement a program. Like, it's how far you want to take it. And if you do that, competition goes away. that's how you spark the momentum. Attraction marketing in this game is so powerful because so few people are making it happen that when that starts to happen, you just go boom, and the growth is exponential. People are just magnetized to the success. But you just got to, do something a little bit different. And I can't sit here and tell you what that is because otherwise everybody go and do it, right? You just got to brainstorm and test different things and put your voice out there. And if that's controversial, so be it. But, be proactive and try a bunch of different things within the borders of a proven framework, and competition disappears, right? Like, I don't really subscribe to it. I think it's a cop-out in most cases.
Love it. It was a loaded question because that was my sentiments as well. Anyway, I've got a question there from Daniel. Do you feel being harshly honest in your marketing pushes away or draws better types of people to work with? Oh, that is a brilliant question.
I love it. So I'll answer it in two parts. I think being harshly honest is a great thing, right? You're going to polarize. You're going to pull in the people who agree with your perspective. And I assume, since it's your perspective, they're the people you're going to want to work with. And you will push away the people who don't agree, which, again, is amazing. That said, if you are going down the path of being harshly honest, polarizing, whatever you want to call it, to attract and repel, to build authority, all that kind of stuff, do not do it in a way that is toxic, and do not do it in a way that is your only strategy to being harshly honest is to pull other people down, because all of a sudden that flips. That goes from being like, Daniel's being very assertive and being, very clear in his message, and I either agree or disagree with that stance. So I'm either going to buy from him or I'm going to stop following him. If that very quickly flips to, this person looks needy, they look insecure, they've got no merit to sell their own products other than tearing everybody else down around them. You just look like a wanker if you do it that way. It is not a good way to build a brand. By building, in my opinion, by building authority 100% by pulling everybody else down. There's got to be a balance. If you strategically throw stones, as they call it, that's sweet. But if that's your entire approach, it's not going to be a fun path. So 100% be honest, share your message directly, polarize, all that kind of stuff. But be careful about how much you polarize at the expense of other people. It can come back to bite you in the ass. And you're going to, if all your marketing is negative and pulling people down, you're going to attract those types of people. And I've worked with enough people in my life at this point that you don't want to be around them.
That's really awesome. Feel free to drop any other questions, folks. I'm going to try and hold this dude here as long as I can. Just kidding.
Have you got a link around? Have you got a link
1 hour on the dot?
People to buy?
Yeah, I will. I'll drop this down. So, do we want just this? If you're interested in checking out SAA, I'm going to drop a link below. Hopefully it'll allow me. In the comments. It might not allow me because I'm in StreamYard. Okay, it only posts to
YouTube.
Really annoying. Yeah, only posts to YouTube. I'll see if I can find it on the old Facebooks. There you go. Check it out, folks. If you're interested in joining the festivities, getting to hang out with us. Fire some questions.
Who have we got watching this that's not in there?
Because I'm using StreamYard, it's not showing up everywhere.
I'm just gonna
Mr. Fred. There you go.
Mr. Fred. We're gonna echo for a second. Hang on. There we go. Just look at these comments. Who else we got around? Who can we get in on the spot?
Jeffrey Shallot. How you doing, sir? Not sure if you're still with us. Mr. Caldwell. Love to have you there.
Michelle. Why haven't you joined, Michelle? Just start putting people on the spot.
It's just randomly calling out, why aren't you in there?
Pierre, what are you doing? Victor, congrats on the YouTube channel, man. On fire.
Yeah, man. Congrats on the 3 YouTube channels, by the way.
More pole dancers, less polar.
Well, look, if that's what attracts your audience, man, it would be a unique angle to take. Brilliant.
So Jeffrey's not in. Why not?
Why not? It's like Grant Cardone University over here. Live pitching.
That's fine. Each to their own. Each to their own.
Yeah, who's that? What were you talking about?
No idea what we're talking about. Neither do I.
No, we've gone delirious. As soon as the 1 hour mark hits, we're start going a bit bonkers.
It's been a big week.
Yeah, Jeffrey, it's the Super Affiliate Accelerator. We our little budding community, teaching people all this stuff. But as Jacob said, clearly not going to be for everyone, and we're pretty upfront about that.
Robert, hey guys, down the track, can you automate things to give you more time in your life? Yeah, man, absolutely.
Are we looking at the same things?
I don't know. I don't know what you're looking at. We're on an interview, Jamie.
Is this live?
You're still thinking about pole dancers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert, you can, man. You can integrate funnels and all that kind of jazz. The other thing too is the conversion process gets shortened as you build your brand up and as the attraction marketing really kicks in, right? Like the conversations that I have with people rarely at this point need to be long-winded because they know who I am. They've followed my content. When you say things in a certain way, people are pretty reluctant to waste your time. And you can be very direct. Not direct to be rude, not direct to be pushy, just direct insofar as you clearly value your time and people can make a decision if they want to buy or not. Now, when you're first getting started, it is a bit harder to develop that positioning, and that will come with time and with skills and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it becomes easier. You can add automations. You can outsource stuff. You can take it wherever you want to take it, right? You can leverage the audience that you build on Facebook, roll it over onto YouTube. You build an email, like you can take it wherever you want to take it. It's just a fantastic starting point to get everything moving.
On that as well, I know it was a massive paradigm shift for me to understand that I didn't need websites. I didn't need complex stuff. I didn't need email marketing, chatbots, ads, any of that stuff to actually build a very powerful brand and a sustainable business online. Literally, all you need is a social media profile where you can actually get in front of people, and a way to convert those people into customers and look after them and stuff. So for me, that was a huge shift. And I think one of the things that we try to hammer home with people is that you don't need all that stuff. And at the risk of sounding hypocritical, I've got all that stuff. I do use it. I do use everything I just mentioned now, but all that could disappear and I wouldn't, I'd be fine. It's cool. I'd go and put in some sweat equity and I'll build my brand up again and do whatever. Yeah. But then once you've got an understanding of how to do that, that's when you add all the other layers. That's when you go, cool, I'm going to put a fancy funnel on top of that. I'm going to put my email marketing, my follow-up sequences, and my retargeting ads or whatever you want to put on that. But there's no point overloading yourself with complexities if you don't have a way to convert people right off the bat. And I think that's kind of what where I suggest people start with to start with, and then add those other things on top of that.
I think the internet's moving back. Not the internet, that's the wrong word. I think buyers are moving back a little bit more towards to wanting the personal touch as well. Like they want to ask questions. They want, they want to get the specific hold up that's holding them up here addressed by a real person before they make a decision. And that's why we do all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
And I'll throw another thing on that and say, from someone that clearly, don't get me wrong, we're in sales. I am trying to sell, but I am also absolutely adamant I'm not going to sell to everyone. If they say, look, here's my situation, I'm financially desperate, blah, blah, like, cool, that's not going to be for you then. And I'm very upfront with that. And I think what that does is actually build more credibility with your brand, because you're not aiming at just going, cool, I'm going to make a sale out of this person. It's like you've got their best interest in heart. Oh, this is touching. Who have we got there? I'm going to read that.
Jeffrey.
Oh, man, that's really sweet. Thanks, man.
He's not a bad guy, Jeffrey. He's not a bad guy.
Oh,
there's a reason he's my right-hand man.
Oh, that's really sweet. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I try my best. That's really cool. Yeah, he's got an interesting thing. Sorry, I know it's been a little while since we spoke, Jeffrey, but you sells toys, I think, from memory. So yeah, more physical products, which is kind of cool. Any other questions or anything we can help while you got us there? You got a 7-figure dude there and 6-figure dude here, so feel free to throw thy questions at us.
I'll be back in 1 second. Keep the crowd humming.
Yeah, I did. Thanks very much. I'll send you some Ethereum or Bitcoin later on. Oh, Robert, yeah, how you doing, man? So yeah, that's my mentor and friend. Pretty cool, huh? So it's kind of awkward when there's just one person there and you kind of completely lost your train of thought mid-sentence. You're on a live. Nah, it's not. But yeah, it's been an interesting ride. With I guess my journey, for those of you that don't know, I started in 2011, and it took me till last year to finally kind of really crack it and really feel kind of confident that I could, like I say, do all that stuff, which was quite literally just taking my social media profiles and then creating an audience and then monetizing it on the back end. So yeah, it's been fun. Hey, what's up, Josh? How you doing, man? Yeah, it's a good partnership, man. Joshua's gone from strength to strength. One of our awesome students. Interviewed Russell Brunson. I've interviewed on Josh's group recently as well, which is really cool. And started, I think it was January you started. Also just left his job as well. Handed in his notice. I think he finishes up in about a month's time, something like that. So big achievement, man. 0 to bloody, what do you call it?
Hero.
Leaving retired. And what 6 or 7 months? You probably could have done it months back as well. You probably could have done it in April. Let's be honest, but yeah. Thanks very much. That guy's not.
Nah, Jamie's way better.
I am. Yeah, I am.
he's a nice guy. Good cop, bad cop.
I think that's kind of why it works really well, though, is because we do have somewhat opposing opinions about quite a number of things.
Yeah, but it's not to the detriment of like things not a congruent message. I think it's good. No. It facilitates conversation.
Yeah, and but then I think the other thing is we don't there's kind of like no ego in play when we're communicating. So it's like, all right, well, Oh, I fucked that up. I think let's just kind of move on from that. Just kind of cool.
Ego just fucking destroys people.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can all learn. Like, you've taught me so much. Josh has taught me so much. Like, you know, you have to be able to learn from all angles. As soon as you stop thinking that you can learn from all angles, you are done. I
think that's something I've kind of admired about the way you do things is all of a sudden, because you kind of, I don't know, like you kind of think like what happens once you reach a certain level? Do you just kind of like, I don't need a mentor anymore because I'm busy mentoring others or whatever? But the reality is Jacob spends more cash on mentoring now than he probably ever has in his life. And I find that really admirable because it's like, cool, it's your continual growth and your continual expansion, both business-wise and mindset and personal development stuff, which I find kind of compelling.
Question here from Robert. In both your opinions, will you be doing this course for years to come and be helping everyone along the way, not changing and doing something else like a lot of the gurus? Sounds like you are consistent with your lives. We've been doing it for 10 months, man. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that in 5 years' time the course is going to be there. I can't see that far into the future, but I am very, very, and Jamie can attest to this. Whenever decisions are made that involve or directly impact either customers or potential future customers, that's where my approach of, crazy scattergun, like just go, completely flips. Because then it's not just impacting me, it's potentially impacting other people. We're in it for the long haul. If the direction of the program was to change, people would be, very well communicated about that. And no one's going to get left. No one's going to get left in the dark. But I'm not going to sit here and commit to this many years or whatever. But no one will get left in the dark, and no one will get shortchanged. That's not how we do business.
I think the other thing is, well, a lot of the time that what you're speaking to there, it comes from the back of just having big launches, because there's all this, like, as part of like human nature, we love buying, for new stuff and never done before, never seen, and it's all new, and there's this kind of like crowd euphoria that comes with the launch, and people are just like, oh fuck yeah, I got to get this thing, it's amazing, oh my god. And then what happens is the other side of it, and I'm not going to get too sciencey, but it's to do with your dopamine release about, like, cool, I bought the thing, and then that's like the anticipation. Dopamine is an anticipation hormone, by the way, but it's what fuels your kind of like happiness. And so once that happens, and then the big amount of cash has been made for the creators, then often their dopamine levels have been relinquished. So then, of course, it fades out really rapidly, because then it's like, well, I've done that, and now I've got to kind of serve all these people. But what's different about us is that there was never really a launch. It was kind of, it just, boom, it appeared, and let's just build the crap out of this thing and keep moving forward. So, yeah. Who we got there?
Shayla.
Just reach out to me privately if you like. I'm happy to jump on a call before now and then.
Yeah. And look, if they make a commitment, Shayla, it's fine. We're not going to pull the rug out from underneath people's feet. We'll put a backstop on it, obviously, to make a decision, but we're not going to say, "Ha, too bad, you missed the time."
Yeah,
we'll be reasonable. Albert, SAA is making rapid growth. What are the plans to keep a human touch mentoring for the group? All you can do, man, is just keep adapting. It was the same thing looking at the numbers now versus when we had 40 people, right? The second that it becomes a problem, in terms of we never miss a question, either in the question thread or on the lives. The second that starts to become a problem, we will change up the strategies. We're always future looking too. How can we serve people better? And looking at other options we've got out there in case it does start to become an issue, then we can quickly adapt. But I've got a couple of people that might be able to come in and help out more, who have the knowledge. What we're seeing more and more now too is we've got leaders in the group who are providing advice based on their own experiences. But yeah, we keep a pretty close pulse on the group, and we'll make sure that the support the support grows commensurate with the size of the group.
Yeah, it's been a consideration for a while in that regard. So, but a valid question, Daniel. Yeah, we definitely need a mastermind on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, where's Daniel based?
You're Brizzy or Gold Coast? Can't remember, man. Sorry, around that area though. Yeah, Queensland.
We Dan the man. He got a mention earlier. Dan Frigo.
Oh, nice. How you doing, man?
Yeah, when people can travel, man. Like I'd love to do one, but I'd wait until the other gent on this call is able to come up. But for sure, dude, we've got a good spot here. We can do it. And I'd love it. It'd be great fun.
I have wondered that sometimes, to be honest.
But
kind of like Terminator.
Go on, give me some credit. I've gotten more zen. Don't you reckon?
Yes. Yeah. And the reason I say that though is like when this whole thing was coming together, he'd go, "Hey, check this out," and then I'd read an article or something, or like, "Hey, what do you reckon about this as a tagline?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I think," and I'd sit on it for a little while. And then literally like 20 minutes later, or felt like 20 minutes, it's probably like an hour and a half, you go, "Cool, I've done this whole sales page." I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm still like thinking about stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, just smash it out. I just chuck some tunes on, gone, done it." I'm like, "Oh, far out." Okay. So yeah, the speed of execution, there you go. It's kind of an important thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put my hand up and admit that I've drowned my problems with work in the past, and I'm getting better at not doing that. I'm getting better at being able to sit still and read a book.
One of these. Yeah.
Yeah. No one will notice that hairy mug.
Feel like some Neanderthals escaped from Victoria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, for sure. The second we can travel and we can get Jamie up, we'll make something happen.
Yeah, we'll have something there.
I would love to do it. It would be amazing. It's a good steakhouse just down the road. We can, sorry for the vegetarians, we can we can have a day of working, some learning, some implementing, a couple of beers by the beach, and hit the steakhouse. And Jamie can go out in surfers and go clubbing.
Go on an animal safari. Anyways, yeah, sit still. What is that? What is this whole sitting still you talk of?
I say as I'm squirming in my chair.
Yeah, you're like, "God damn it, Jamie, just hurry up, man. It's been an hour and a half."
I'll see if I can show you guys. It's an absolute cracker of a day. I don't know if the camera's going to let me do it or not. It might be too bright. It's way too bright. Hey, yeah, no, that's not going to work. This time of year in Queensland is just like, it's so good.
It looks kind of nice. Anyway, I don't have any more questions. I'm sure if I thought really hard I would, but I don't really have anything else. Hopefully you guys have found this super productive. I know I got a lot of, every time I talk to this dude, I feel like I get some sort of new like brainwave or something like that. So, Jacob, really appreciate you being here, man. Any final thoughts or wisdoms to impart on us, sir?
Look, if you want to do affiliate marketing and you're trying to do affiliate marketing, I can comfortably tell you that our program is the best you will find. And I'm not just saying that because I made it. I'm saying that because I've spent a lot of money on different programs. The strategy and the support you won't find elsewhere. So it's just a matter of if you're serious enough about it to make that commitment at this point in your life, and if the strategy of building a personal brand is what you want to do, right? If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. If you don't want to build a personal brand, you don't want to build a personal brand, that's fine. But for anyone that does sit in the category of they've got the funds and or can access the funds, and they do want to build a personal brand and they haven't currently got clarity, a plan, all that kind of stuff, what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for? No. Thanks very much for that, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Appreciate everyone that tuned in. Yeah. Hopefully see you guys on the inside. I'm going to be doing some pretty awesome things.
Jamie's got to go throw up a welcome post with like
900 new people. Thanks so much for everyone tuning in, Jacob. Really appreciate your time, man. And yeah, have a good one. Keep crushing it, guys.
Cheers, guys. Have a great weekend.